In the spirit of draft day, these are the Sun Devils I think have NFL futures.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your podcasts, and stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a very happy NFL draft day to those who observe, and to the rest of you, a happy NFL draft day. Because how can you not love a day like this, where not only do you get to see your team select the futures, but you get to see the players at your favorite college start their dreams. And we look at Arizona State. I'm not going to lie, there's a lot. And call me biased if you have to. I totally understand. But where I will counterpoint you is there's a lot of talent on this roster. More talent than we realize. And there's a lot of kids whose upside is just through the roof, which is why I think that there's a lot of kids who, if they're not NFL players, definitely have a future in professional football. Maybe it's the UFL or the CFL or the Arena Football League or wherever. I think these guys absolutely have futures in store for them. So we're going to talk about the players who I think are going to the NFL. And a quick disclosure, I'm not saying the first round picks. I'm not even saying that they're necessarily draft picks. I'm saying, yeah, these guys are going to get there one day, whether it's special teams, starting, Pro Bowl, All Pro, whatever. We start with the position that's just got the most ridiculous amount of talent, and that's wide receiver. It's a position that we have highlighted for the last year as one of the deepest spots on this roster. And keep in mind, this is without Elijah Badger, who is now in the transfer portal and probably isn't coming back. Less than 1% chance. They have a lot of depth at receiver, though. And there's three guys, to me, who I think have a future in the NFL. We'll start with the guy who is just so beyond explosive. Somebody that you have really seen him come into his own during spring ball, and that's Jordyn Tyson. With Jordyn Tyson, you have got this pure electric dynamite player. He's so special. And the way that he's able to contribute in multiple facets is something that is going to make him so valuable, not just to ASU, but for the next level. First of all, the dude is fast. I'm not good at judging how fast. I feel like at worst, he is low 4.4s. If I had to take a guess, he's probably 4.3. I mean, there's just not many dudes who can keep up with how fast he is. And once the ball's in his hands, I mean, it's game over for you. He's able to turn the slightest opening into a home run. He does it as a receiver, and he does it as a return man as well. Once the ball is in Jordyn Tyson's hands, anything can happen. And more often than not, it's something really good for ASU and something really bad for the opposing team, because he's got special teams prowess. He's someone that can take the punt returns back. ASU knows this best. A couple of years ago when he was at Colorado against ASU, he had an over 80-yard touchdown reception and an over 80-yard punt return touchdown. Just put the ball in Jordyn Tyson's hands. And for what it's worth, he passed the aesthetics test as well. He's wearing number 0. Come on. That's drip. That's clean. What does Deion say? You look good, you feel good, you feel good, you play good, they pay good. That's where we're at with Jordyn Tyson. He is definitely one of the guys who's more like in theory right now because we haven't got to see him in 2 years because last year he was recovering from a knee injury that knocked him out for basically the whole year. I think he appeared against Arizona for like a handful of snaps, but he didn't touch the football. So we have to see whether or not he is 100% good to go and get back on the field. But if he is, this might be the best future prospect on the team. I'll stand by that. But he's not the only receiver that looks good because you've also got Jake Smith. Smith did not get to play last year because of NCAA two-time transfer eligibility issues. So different reason than Tyson, but he's also a year removed from being on the field. It also doesn't help that he's been dealing with injuries for the vast majority of his career, both when he was at Texas and USC. He's so utterly talented as a former 4-star kid from Notre Dame Prep, Valley kid, activate the Valley. But we just have not gotten to see him get to 100%. But what we've seen in training camp and spring practices the last 2 years, he's waiting to explode. He looks like he can do just about anything for you. He's a route running savant. He's got really soft hands to reel in everything. I think he's a lot quicker than people think, which is going to lead to plenty of explosive plays. He's fun to watch. And as long as he's 100% healthy, he's on the field this year. And now with Elijah Badger out of the folds, he could be your number 2, maybe even your number 1 receiver. I truly believe that. Jake Smith is a stud. Now that he is good to go, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to blow up this year. Look for Jake Smith to potentially be the number 1 receiver on this team. Last receiver I want to talk about before we transition to some other positions is Troy Omeire. And it's no secret, I am a very big fan of Troy Omeire. Dude is huge. He's 6'3" or 6'4", is over 200 pounds, depending on what the actual measurements are. As we all know, college, you're a lot taller than you actually are when you get to the combine. So he's between 6'3" and 6'4", but he still towers over guys. And the thing he does that I love, and this is like certain guys press certain buttons for you. One thing that I love out of my wide receivers, and this is a personal preference, big, tall guys. Like if you are 6'3" or taller, you've got my attention because I'm such a fan of the 50-50 ball guys. The ones who you just put it up in their general vicinity and they can come down with it. The other side of that is the smaller shifty guys. Like if you couldn't tell, I am a Baltimore Ravens fan, as by the Lamar Jackson jersey, and I love Zay Flowers. But for me personally, I just love the big, tall receivers, and that's what Troy Omeire is. Omeire is the put it up there, I'm going to come down with it. 50-50 balls turn into 60-40 balls, turn into 70-30 balls. You just feel so good about the chance that Omeire is just going to be able to post up and come down with the football. I mean, physically, he is able to do that better than anybody else on the roster. But it's also a mindset, and we saw last year that he's got that mindset. He's got the dog in him, if you want to do that very tired stereotype, I guess. Like, he's a beast. So if he is 100% healthy, or it's not 100% healthy, if he is 100% dialed in this year, that's what I meant to say, then he's going to be a beast. And where I would love to see him take off as a potential end zone guy. Last year, he had 2 touchdowns, or it might have been 3. I think it was 2. It tied for the team lead with Elijah Badger, and he just looked good. He was able to get higher than everyone. He made some heck of a plays, too, against U of A the last game of the year. Jaden Rashada puts this thing way out in front. Omeire lays out for it. Like, dude, dialed in his inner John Jefferson for a heck of a extending catch on his way to the end zone. Like, he's a stud. Between those 3 receivers, you've got a very good chance for at least one of them to be able to get to the next level, make an impact, and maybe really find a niche with the future team, because they each do something really different for you. Jordyn Tyson is that fast, explosive player with the special teams upside. Jake Smith, put him in the slot. You can have him outside, but he's a great route runner and a great catcher. Just period. Like, just catches everything thrown his way. It's a vacuum. And then Troy Omeire is your big, tall guy. Throw the ball up, let him come down with it. But these aren't the only guys that I think have an NFL future on the offensive side of the football. Next, we're going to talk about the running backs and my overall thoughts on the offensive linemen who could potentially find themselves at the next level. We're going to get to them in just one moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Look, I've been told that I'm a pretty competitive person by my friends, my family, and other people. And if you think that's true, well, you're right, because I do have a competitive side, and we all do. But my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it by now because it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part, of course, is messing with my friends, because I can charge them rent on iconic properties just like in classic Monopoly, but now I can heist their vaults for riches for myself. And the leaderboards are going to show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is, but it's not just my competitive side that loves it, because you can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in on the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store and Google Play. Also want to talk to you guys about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the new authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets easier and faster than before. Prices on the Game Time app will actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Priority last-minute deals. Look, you're going to save up to 60% on buying tickets last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Flash deals, you're going to find exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event, and the zone deals. That's a big fan for me. You can save money when you choose a section, and Game Time chooses the seats. All-in pricing is a feature that's going to show you the total upfront, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Get the panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what to expect when you arrive. The lowest price guarantee for Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for cheaper. And Game Time ticket coverage means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and find that you're having to turn down the TV with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's get right back into our conversation now and take a look at more Arizona State Sun Devil players who I think have NFL futures. We're going to take a look at the backfield where ASU might have two potential superstars at the next level. We'll start with the man, the myth, the legend, the man who I have dubbed the people's running back, Cameron Skattebo. Skattebo is such a unique player because he is Mr. Do-It-All. This is a guy who runs very well, and he is very shifty. This is a dude who can just cut on a dime. Like, you think that he's going to be going into one gap, and then he plants his foot and just completely shifts all of his momentum to be able to cut and go to another hole. He can do it in the open field. He makes you look stupid. You think you're going to wrap up on him, and then whoop, little Chris Berman, whoop, you missed. You just missed him. You didn't get him. Sorry, better luck next time. He catches the football too. This is a natural pass catcher. He is pound for pound one of the 3 best pass catchers on this team right now. I don't know how many other guys on the Sun Devils are just so natural in the way that they pull the ball in, they're able to separate everything, and he's doing it out of the backfield. I would love to see this year, because there's another running back I want to talk about. Try and get creative with Skattebo and line him up outside. Let's see how the route running develops. Bottom line, this dude's a beast. The other dude, as I kind of alluded to, is Raleek Brown. Brown is a new face of the team. Transfer from USC. Very, very, very high 4-star recruit / 5-star, depending on where you look. He looks like it. This is, if I said Jordyn Tyson is a spark plug, then Raleek Brown is the exact same thing. This is also a guy who's easily 4.3 runner, and he can do it out of the backfield. But like Skattebo, he's also somebody who can catch the football. USC used him as much in the slot for them over the last 2 years. They just want him to touch the football. That's the way USC used him. At ASU, they want the same thing, but they have promised that Raleek Brown will be used as a running back. Kenny Dillingham has actually compared him to a former player he coached at Memphis in the form of Kenneth Gainwell. And Kenny Gainwell has had a pretty solid career in the NFL so far as somebody who runs it and catches the football very naturally. That's Raleek Brown. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's 5'9" to 5'10", again, depending on how you want to view college measurements. And it doesn't matter. He's just so fast. You can't touch him. It's that classic saying of like, this is with like wide receivers, right? Where someone will say, oh, he's so small, he'll get pressed off the line of scrimmage. And it's like, well, you can't press what you can't touch. And with Raleek Brown, it's like, you can't hit what you can't touch. Like, you can say until you're blue in the face, oh, he's going to get hit by a big linebacker. Is he? I don't know. I don't think they're going to get their hands on him. Once the ball gets in Raleek Brown's hands, he's so fast that, I mean, you're just going to have to play some kind of contained defense to be able to keep him in front of you. Because if there's a one-on-one, he's winning it every time as a runner, as a receiver. I want to see if they play around with him in the return game. I know USC did a little bit, not very much. ASU, there's an opportunity there, I suppose, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. As far as the offensive line goes, I don't know that there's anyone that stands out to me as like a slam dunk, like, yeah, that's a future NFL player. But there are a handful of guys that have my attention. The first one is Lee Fontano, the center for the team. He was pretty much the only consistent starter last year due to all the health concerns from the team. But he's good. And while I don't think that he's like an elite player yet, I'm really curious to see if his senior year he is able to break out. Because he is a good player. He's a great player even. I'm excited to see if he continues to build and build and build and maybe does get the attention of future NFL teams. There's a handful of other offensive linemen I'll be paying attention to. Jalen Clem is the first one who grabs my attention, the transfer from Washington. Does he play tackle? Does he play guard? I don't care. He's just really good. Wherever he ends up lining up, I know he got a lot of work at right tackle during spring ball. Maybe we will be able to see him just find a way onto the line. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. I am of the philosophy, start your best 5. Figure it out later. And Jalen Clem could potentially be one of those 5. So it doesn't matter if he's right tackle or left guard. Just find a spot for him and let him be a good player. Ben Coleman, coming back from an injury. He was a former all-conference player when he was at Cal. Transferred last year, didn't get to play. He's back. He's someone who has my attention. Obviously, he's got the resume that you look for. Does he get back to form? We'll see. Anyone else? Bram Walden, I'm a big fan. He just can't seem to stay healthy. If he is healthy, uber talented. Last guy to mention, Josh Atkins, transfer from Hawaii. I really like him. And I think right now, with everything that's going on with Ram Walden, he's probably your starting left tackle, but he's the veteran guy. And if he's able to have another really solid season, NFL teams are going to look at him. Bottom line, this offensive line, there's a lot of guys who I'm paying attention to. I just don't know how many are going to have the NFL's attention because, like Kellen Diesch a couple of years ago, I thought he was a drafted guy, and he goes undrafted, and he's kind of bounced around. And I'm waiting to see if any guys on the team are quite to the caliber that Kellen Diesch was. We'll see. Really interested to see and pay attention to them more. But we're going to flip to the defensive side of the football, and then we're going to talk about some too soon to tell players that should have your attention. We're going to dive right into them in just one moment. It's the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Guys, I want to talk to you about our friends over at FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL, baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. One more time, wherever you're getting your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get the update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's wrap up the conversation. There are 3 players on defense who have my complete undivided attention. And then there's a lot of too soon to tell players, plenty on defense and a couple of guys on offense I want to mention too. Defensively, there's 3 guys. It starts with Clayton Smith. Clayton Smith looks like he was sculpted from marble, excuse me. He's got, I'd be willing to bet less than 10% body fat on him. And he just looks so big and strong. He's tall. He's anywhere between 6'3" and 6'4". Once again, depends on your college measurements. And he's so blindingly fast off the edge, man. You can't keep up with him. And we saw it last year. Now, he got banged up several times last year. I want to say he was taken off the field 3 different times. But he still found a way to notch 4.5 sacks. In the last month of the season, he was unstoppable. So if he picks up where he left off, he is pound for pound one of the best pass rushers we've seen in the last several years for Arizona State. There's a reason he is a former 5-star / really high 4-star recruit coming out of Texas 3 years ago. If he is able to stay on the field, that's obviously the first win. My question, has he learned to convert that speed to power? It's going to be about the hand placement, understanding leverage, all that good stuff. He can bend. That's not an issue. He can outrun you. That's not an issue. If he continues to add to his toolbox of ways to beat you as a pass rusher, sky's the limit for this kid. As far as the entirety of the team, I think the 3 highest upside players for me are Jordyn Tyson, Raleek Brown, and Clayton Smith. 2 more guys on defense before we jump into some too soon to tell. CJ Fite, I know. I talk about him all the time. There's a reason I talk about him. This dude's a beast. He started every game as a freshman. We still have to see what he's got as a sophomore, what he's got as a junior. But he has my full undivided attention. He's someone that is able to eat up blocks, somebody who is just ferocious off the line. My question, and what I'll be paying attention to, can he develop as a pass rusher? I know that he's got some high expectations for himself. I know that with the way this defensive line is going to work, there will be opportunities for him. I don't have any questions about him being able to man his position, eat up blocks, make life easier for the linebackers by keeping their jerseys clean. My question is, can he start turning in some more sacks? And even if he doesn't, that's not a necessity for him to get to the next level. If he continues to play strong and heavy the way he does, yeah, I like him over the next 2 years. If he becomes a pass rusher, look out. Last guy on defense who really stands out to me is Xavion Alford. We did not get to see Alford last year because of the two-time eligibility, transfer rules, the same thing that happened to Jake Smith. But just like Jake Smith, when he was on the practice field, I mean, you noticed him. You sat there and you're like, who is this kid? And then you looked and you're like, oh, yeah, I can see it. He showed a lot of potential at USC. And he looked like he did not take a step backwards last year before being ruled ineligible. And now he still looks good. We're waiting to see if he is able to play back to that level that we saw him. I like his chances. There's ball hawking skills. He's fast. If he's a sure tackler, which we've yet to see, I like this kid a lot. And I know the NFL likes ball hawks too. So if he can end up turning into that ball hawking player in the secondary, I'm talking 2-3 interceptions, maybe even a little bit more, someone who just finds his way to the football. We got something special here, folks. Now for the too soon to tell, I've got a handful of guys. If I forgot someone, please let me know. But again, there's a lot of guys on this team that I really, really like. Some guys that maybe I'm too high on. But these are the guys that I think are too soon to tell but have my attention. The first is Sam Levitt, because how can you not talk about a quarterback? Levitt looks the part. He's tall. He's got an arm. He can move. We just haven't seen him. He played 4 games for Michigan State last year. He has not played for ASU yet, but he's a quarterback. He was highly recruited in the same way Jaden Rashada was before Rashada left. We'll wait and see, but look out for Levitt this year. Another guy on offense, last guy on offense, is Kyson Brown. Kyson Brown is in a stacked running back room, but last year fought his way onto the field, whether it was because of injuries at the position or the fact that he was just really good at football. Kyson Brown made a name for himself, and you were very aware of how talented he was. Very big on Kyson Brown. Let's see if he can find a way to stand out once again in another crowded running back room. Defensively, I got a handful of guys. First is Prince Dorbah. Dorbah led the team in sacks last year with 6. He was tied with BJ Green, but he really disappeared in the second half of the year, which is why he's on my too soon to tell. I need him to put together a full season. If he does, yeah, this is a good football player. He's also somebody that's really talented as an athlete, very untapped potential. Him and Clayton Smith, in theory, should be just bookend pass rushers that ASU hasn't seen in a while. Tate Romney at linebacker, I just don't know what to do with the linebacker position, period, because there's not really one guy that is like absolutely slam dunk the number one linebacker on the team. There's a lot of guys that they're rotating in right now, and Romney was someone who earned a lot of playing time last year. I think he's in line to do it again this year. If he does, and if he's productive again, we got to talk about him as like your next Kyle Sully. The rest of these guys are in the secondary. LT Welsh, transfer from LSU, big, long corner. I'm curious how the corner situation shakes out now that Ed Woods is transferred. But I think Welsh could very well fight his way as a starting safety. Or corner, excuse me. Transitioning to safety, Kamari Wilson, coming from Florida, wasn't able to get on the field much when he was with the Gators, similar to Welsh, couldn't get on the field too much with LSU. But he's ridiculously talented. Both of these kids were 4-star recruits for a reason. If they reach their potential, they're beasts. Last guy I want to mention, Montana Warren. Warren missed pretty much the entirety of last season with a leg injury, but during training camp, I mean, this was the freshman phenomenon. This was the guy, number 18, flying around the field. You see him lining up deep near the line of scrimmage and the slot outside. Like, they got creative with Montana Warren. They said, we're going to play you A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And he said, cool, sounds good. Let me do my thing. And he did it. at a high level, but we didn't get to see it on the field, which is why he's too soon to tell. But if he does what he did in training camp, he got something special here. He's a 3-star coming out of Texas in last year's cycle. I've said this before. He plays anywhere else in the country, he's a 4-star. This is a special kid who, by the end of the year, could very well be the best player in the secondary for the Sun Devils. I stand by that. I firmly believe it. Who did I forget? Who do you need me to be higher on? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter too. You can find me at Richie Brads 36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you get your podcasts, though, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Stay in touch. Again, follow me on Twitter, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, guys. Appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day. And shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back again tomorrow and Saturday as we preview the spring game tomorrow night at Sun Devil Stadium, 6 p.m. Free admission. Go show up, take a look at the boys, and give them your support. I'll be doing a preview tomorrow, and then Saturday we'll be recapping what we got to see. So tune in. I'll see you then. Till next time, you keep it locked right here on Locked On